This is our new business venture competition. This is through the College of Business here at Northern Michigan University. And for those of you that this is a new event, I want to tell you a little bit about it. This competition is actually designed to encourage the entrepreneurial activism among our students. And what this competition is, it's actually a forum to present their new business venture plans and to seek feedback from possible investors and have some meaningful conversation and the opportunity to actually talk about this new business and apply what they've learned in the classroom thus far in terms of real learning, and then apply it to a real world project. And so I have to say that we started this competition with 36 actual proposals, which were intents to compete. And we are down to what we consider to be the top 2 groups. And so I would like to actually make sure that the gentlemen who are here as competitors understand that they are already winners because they have come from a very large pool. They truly are, in my opinion, an inspiration to students across the board. Their eagerness to actually continue with this competition is unbelievably brave, especially because we're adapting to a new forum. And I know that change is difficult sometimes, but their eagerness to continue the competition illustrates, first of all, their commitment to the business idea and the idea of the spirit of competition. We also want to thank our judges because this is kind of an imposition on them too to try to adapt to some new technology, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your time and your generosity of spirit in looking at and reading through these business plans. I want to thank members of the New Business Venture Competition Committee. We have Professor Corrine Bodman, obviously Dr. Michael Crum, the IT department here at NMU. You all met Patrick. The students, of course, our administrative assistant, Annette Brown. Everybody has had a hand in getting this competition to continue, and hopefully we'll be able to have a great result. At this time, though, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Crum because he is our master of ceremonies and our competitors, the main person who will help us through the competition. So thank you all. Good luck, gentlemen. I am really looking forward to hearing what you have to say tonight, and good luck. Take care.
Thank you for that, Carol, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to say a few words. I'm going to, at first, I'm going to try and do this, share my screen. Hopefully you can see the crowd favorite voting. And in the competition, what's going to happen, I'll talk about the format a little bit in a second, but we're really going to give away 3 prizes. One is based on the written business plan. The judges have scored those. Another prize is based on the big pitch, the presentation. The judges will be scoring those here in a few minutes as we go through those. But we also have a crowd favorite prize, and this is something we started doing a few years ago. And of course, we started doing this when we had the competition in the theater, but we wanted to continue the crowd favorite prize because it's a lot of fun and allows anyone who's watching this right now live, or if you're going to be watching it later today or Friday, like the students in my management 436 class, you can go to live.voxvote.com and enter the code 98802 and vote on your favorite. Voting will be up for about 24 hours until 7 p.m. on Friday. So please do that if you're watching this. It's a cash prize for whoever wins, so it's kind of cool. Make sure and do that. And now I'm going to stop sharing that. I have a slide for the judges and the presenters, but I think it makes sense just for me to kind of talk through that part of it, to be honest. So anyways, all right. So I do want to thank our judges too. And I'll do a brief introduction, although it's kind of cool because I think you can see their names next to their picture, which makes it kind of nice, right? So that's kind of a nice aspect of it. So our first judge, and this is in no order, I just had to start somewhere, is Dennis West. Dennis has been a judge at least the past couple of years. Obviously, his experience at Northern Initiatives, working with a lot of small businesses in a lot of different ways, is really helpful. And I really appreciate Dennis being a judge again this year and using our, and being, adaptable with our different formats. So thanks for being here, Dennis. Justin Carlson is a new judge this year, and I'm really excited for Justin to participate. Justin owns Carlson Media here in Marquette, a digital marketing firm, among other things I think he does. I know he's a drone pilot from LinkedIn, which I think is really awesome. I'm kind of jealous, but I believe Justin was a contestant in this competition. It's been a while, but I think he was, which is kind of cool when someone who is a contestant comes back to judge. So thanks for being here, Justin. Really appreciate having you. Third judge, John Spigarelli from Elegant Seagulls, background in e-commerce, website design, among other things from my understanding. Appreciate you joining us this year as well, and appreciate the feedback you're going to give the contestants. And then, of course, Terry Deering. Terry has been a judge many years, and we always appreciate Terry coming. He has a lot of expertise in small businesses, operations and also e-commerce in particular. Terry is also a sponsor of our competition. I believe he is sponsoring the QuickBooks prize. So really appreciate Terry, not only as a judge, but as a sponsor. Being a judge for the competition does take work, not only what you're seeing today, but they read through these business plans. And we do appreciate the time that they put in. So thank you, guys. How that's going to work is we're going to have each team present. I know Michael is a single individual, but I'm just going to say teams to make it simpler. And they're going to present for 15 minutes, and then we're going to have 15 minutes for questions. I did kind of a random draw. Michael is going first, and then we'll have about a minute or so between, just so the judges can catch up on the scoring. And then after that, Max and Jonathan will present. I really don't want to introduce their business, though, because I think they can do way better job than I can, and I'm probably not gonna be fair. So let's see if there's anything else I want to say. I think that does it. I will, once you guys start presenting, I'll turn my mic off so that I don't get any feedback. But with that, I believe I've went through my notes. I believe, Michael, we're ready to go whenever you are. You're muted at the moment.
Yeah, I had to unmute it. I'm going to go and share my screen. Okay, can we see that? Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Michael Cole, founder and CEO of CanOptic Labs. We plan to be the first cannabis testing facility located in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Our purpose is to do good for the people, the plant, and the planet. CanOptic Labs will provide patients, cultivators, producers, and dispensaries in Michigan with vital information regarding the safety, quality, and potency of their medical or recreational cannabis products. The work testing laboratories perform is critical from a health and safety perspective. Lab-tested cannabis is required in nearly every state that regulates cannabis businesses. Our main goals are to provide unrivaled customer service and accurate results with quick turnaround time at an affordable price, to develop the most advanced cannabis chemovar profiles, and to be fully compliant with all state and municipalities. Our four main goals for the first year of operations is getting the cannabis testing license. This involves putting an application in with the MRA, which is the Marijuana Regulatory Agency in Michigan, and also filing the municipality licenses for the municipality in which we wish to operate. Net annual income to support operating expenses is also a goal. To cover operating expenses, 349 of our compliance testing packages would need to be done. This would fully cover all of our operation expenses. Monthly sales and capacity to increase steadily with legalization and opening of more dispensaries. I don't see this being an issue. If all three of these are covered, number 4 should be no problem for the company. CanOptic Labs services reach further than just in the lab. We send trained certified samplers to the cultivation site where they will take samples that are representative of the entire batch. The sample will be securely transported back to the lab where pictures, weighing, homogenization, moisture analysis, and other testing will be done. We will also do small batch analysis. This allows samples to be dropped off at our intake desk where the proper forms will need to be filled out by the client to designate which test they would want done. The clients who are in a rush will be able to fill out online forms and drop off their testing or their samples actually in our lobby. These methods can only be utilized by home growers and non-regulatory testing though, considering whenever stuff goes for regulatory testing, there has to be a representative of the entire batch. So we have trained samplers that come out to the grow and actually do that themselves. Each sample will be designated with a barcode that will be scanned throughout the testing process, which will allow clients to monitor their testing in real time. CanOptic Labs intends to provide a comprehensive menu of services to stakeholders in the medical and recreational cannabis industry, including cannabinoid potency analysis, terpene analysis, moisture content, microbial screening, pesticide screening, residual solvent analysis, microtoxin screening, heavy metal detection, flavonoid profiling, microbial screening, foreign matter detection, cannabinoid profiling, consulting, and more. The tests on the slides that you see are analysis that are required by the state of Michigan to be conducted on every single sample that is sold on the legal market. We also do sex determination of the cannabis plant, which could be done in very young plants. This will save growers time, money, and resources, considering they cannot tell their cannabis plant sex until 6 weeks into growing. This needs to be done because the male cannabis plant doesn't produce flowers and can ruin their entire usable crop of cannabis. We offer tests and services aimed to guarantee the quality and potency of all cannabis products. Safety is a key component in which CanOptic Labs is focused on bringing to the cannabis industry, not only for consumers, but for businesses alike. CanOptic Labs will generate a certificate of analysis for each primary sample of the batch of the test and provide a certificate of analysis to the distributor, the licensee who holds the batch title, and also the commission. A common issue is that most customers purchasing cannabis don't know how to interpret these test results. So this forces patients that are trying to purchase medicine to rely on a bud tender to tell them how the product is going to make them feel and how they are going to perceive it. With CanOptic's unique testing result layout, it's easy for an everyday customer to be able to interpret the results themselves. The customer can simply go up, scan the QR code, and within a couple seconds, the results will appear on their device. Now, zooming in a little bit more, terpenes, cannabinoids, and flavonoids, which are compounds inside of the cannabis plant, work together in unison to make up how humans perceive cannabis. Our results break this down and present it to the customer in an easy to interpret manner. This allows them to know exactly what to expect from the product and not rely on someone to tell them actually how they're supposed to feel with this. As you can see, this section is broken down into two main sections. Aroma and flavor are mainly determined by the terpene content of the cannabis plant, which you can see as the colored bars inlaid down below. And also the entourage effects are the cannabinoids and terpenes working together in order to make a certain feeling and certain perception of the human consciousness. This can be seen in a very nice graph on your right too. It's a lot easier to interpret than someone telling you, oh, it might make you feel like this or may make you feel like this. You can actually see it based on a chemical profile, how it should make you feel. CanOptic Labs intends to employ multiple different pieces of instrumentation on their testing. The HPLC technology is used to determine the original composition of cannabinoids present by direct analysis of them. This can be done via plant or edible samples as well. The technique is uniquely determines all cannabinoid contents within the products. This data can be used to form a cannabis profile in order to more accurately evaluate potency, institute material quality assurance, and to identify plant chemotypes. This instrumentation can also be used for pesticide and residual solvent testing as well. GCMS is used for terpene testing as well as decarboxylated cannabinoid testing, which happens whenever the cannabis is actually burned. Heavy metal detection will be used in the ICP-MS. That will be detecting heavy metals to ensure that safe levels are in there for consumption. CanOptic Labs is a business that will be built on a solid foundation. We are dedicated to recruiting only qualified personnel to man various job positions in our company. CanOptic Labs plans to partner with Northern Michigan University to hire trained interns and technicians in the lab and other parts of our business. Because CanOptic Labs plans to bring trained interns into the lab, this will lower operating expenses, allowing for increased revenue. We hope to leverage their expertise to build our business brand to be well accepted in the United States. I myself am a direct marketer in Pittsburgh as well, from where I'm from. So I have a background in marketing, advertisement, and also a scientific background. So I will be involved in all parts of this business, not just in the lab and not just as the CEO. Our main customers are distributors, cultivators, both commercially and home cultivators, manufacturers, and retailers. With new laws since legalization in Michigan, it is predicted that there will be an increase in the number of smaller businesses and home cultivators wanting to get their cannabis tested. This increase in home cultivators will make the demand for testing outside of the normal regulatory testing increase drastically. Cannabis testing is by far the smallest segment of the industry when measured in companies that are actually running. However, the work that labs do is critical for the health and safety perspective, as these companies test for everything from pesticides to potency of the cannabis. Lab tested cannabis is required in nearly every state that regulates cannabis businesses, though no federal or industry-wide standards exist for the industry. CanOptic hopes to assist in the nationwide acceptance of standardized testing methods in the cannabis industry. Aside from providing transparency, labs understand that providing potency and terpene information can also drive customer purchasing decisions of the customers and the patients. In every business, there is competition. However, we believe we possess several strengths that will allow us to remain on visible radar. One of our main strengths is the in-depth terpene, flavonoid, and cannabinoid testing provided by CanOptic. These tests will be analyzed to determine the exact profile of the sample given information not provided by other testing labs. Another advantage is CanOptic Labs will be the only cannabis testing lab located in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The location is optimal to recruit and employ trained interns and professionals from Northern Michigan University. The cannabis industry is known to be highly competitive in the United States and also other parts of the world, but specific aspects of our company related to customer relations, advanced testing, trained employees, community outreach, networking, and location will give CanOptic Labs an advantage over its competition. The Michigan medical cannabis market now serves over 300,000 patients. The medical cannabis business is projected to generate revenues of more than $700 million in 2020. And with the market opening to recreational use, Michigan could also be one of the top states for cannabis companies to target. It is expected that Michigan's cannabis market to reach $1.3 billion by 2021. The most effective strategy for marketing legal cannabis companies is direct marketing at industry conferences and other related events, building communities around related cannabis concerns such as health, wellness, technology, and legalization. Social media sites can also be used since CanOptic is not promoting the sale of any cannabis products. We're just testing it. The marketing and sales strategy for CanOptic Labs will be based on generating long-term personalized relationships with cultivators, manufacturers, and retailers. Some of our main advertising can be seen on this slide, such as information kits, brochures, and direct marketing. Our website is where home growers can go on to fill out what test they want, so they can just drop off their sample in the lab. That website will be also linked directly to our intake service. So as soon as they fill it out, they won't have to print out any forms or anything. They would just already be in the system, so they can just come in and drop it off. Social media, we want to do organic social media, so we will not be posting on Google AdWords or any advertising like that. And merchandising and sponsorship events will also be held as well. The business will be fully funded with $1.2 million. This will include capital costs of nearly $800,000, leaving over $400,000 as working capital. Our assets will include, that's the building itself and the land, development, everything that comes, everything that has to be built with the lab. So fume hoods, all of the glassware that is involved with the lab or assets, all of the testing instrumentation, the security that has to be done to the lab, because that all has to be installed to comply with regulatory affairs for Michigan, and all of the accounting software, everything like that. Direct costs are like the gas that goes into it, consumables, utilities, and operating costs. Those include salary and everything it takes to actually test the cannabis and run the business. Sales are expected to start conservatively in the first few months, increasing steadily throughout the second, third, and fourth quarters through the first year of operations. Increased sales are due to legalization and more home cultivators wanting testing and new businesses opening in Michigan. Cash will be retained within the business to cover cash operating needs, as well as future expansion to meet testing demands. After the first year of operations, it is expected that CanOptic Labs will be able to trim expenses through realizing business efficiencies, gaining operational experience, and industry knowledge. From a total investment of $1.2 million, CanOptic Labs is expected to generate nearly $812,625 in gross revenues, with net income of nearly $302,526 in year 2, which is the first full operating year. Revenues are expected to grow to nearly $1.044 million in year 3 and $1.5 million in year 5, with net income of nearly $750,000 and $970,000 respectively. We also plan to donate 0.5% of all of our sales to schools and different community programs, and do community outreach as well, as much as we can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. At this point, what we'll do is I'm gonna set my timer, and we will open up questions for the judges to ask questions for about 15 minutes. So if the judges want to start firing away, I'll be quiet and just keep the time.
Michael, I have a question. You mentioned several different customer groups or different demographics of people that would want to have their products tested. I'm curious, and in your business plan, you mentioned that there were a lot of levels that are required to have testing of their product in order to sell it. I'm just curious, at what level are people or groups, or what demographic is required to have testing done? I can see, that a home grower might like to have it done, but if you can identify who must have it done, then that would be your primary market to go after first, and then the other ones would just be gravy to come along. Your mic is off.
So I'm sorry about that. So any cannabis product that is sold on the legal market, whether it's recreational or medicinal, has to be tested, no matter what.
So who's in charge of testing it? The grower or the processor or the retailer?
Well, the grower is in charge of actually testing it, as well as the lab. It just depends on the agreement between them. It either has to be one of those two, but before it is put on shelves and sold, it has to be sent to a dispensary, to a lab to be tested before it can be sold in the dispensary. So any product that is not grown at home is our target customers. They have to have their cannabis tested before they can put it on the recreational market or medical market.
So is that typically done by the growers then, so that they have an easier time selling their product?
Sometimes it is,
Okay.
sometimes it is not. It depends also on the relationship with the dispensary, the purchaser, and the grower. If they know that the grower is doing their part and doing it right, using integrated pest management systems and not pesticides and stuff, sometimes they will purchase the cannabis directly from the grower and test it themselves because they have trust in them.
Okay.
But if they don't have trust and they're not very familiar with the grower, they will make the grower test it themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Michael, John here. I have a question regarding insurance and risk. First point would be from a pure insurance level, from a liability standpoint, what legal ramifications post the state regulated approval fall into play for a testing facility like this? Is that a tremendous risk? How is that offset? And then how, from an insurance premium standpoint, is this looked at by insurance companies? Is this something that is readily insurable? I'm not talking the physical property, but actually the liability portion of this.
Well, I'm not exactly sure about how to answer your question. The liability with the labs is we give recommendations on how cannabis should be labeled as well. So the ramifications would be coming back on us. The only ramification that would come back on us is if we were to just say butcher our results and we were to just make up random numbers. That would have ramifications on us and we would have repercussions because of that. Usually that just means a hefty fine for the labs and partial shutdown until we can get our certifications back up. I also plan on my lab being a 1705 certified lab. So that is an accreditation by the Chemistry Society that our lab is operating within certified realms. So we have to have people come in and check to make sure our methods are good, our standards are okay, our everything in our lab is operating to the exact T of how it's supposed to, or we lose that certification. As long as we hold that certification, our lab is doing our part and we shouldn't have any issues.
Michael, the testing or the regulatory environment for the state, when it's requiring testing, what's it looking for in its tests currently?
Currently, it's looking to make sure that they're safe for the most part. Other than that, they're making it so you have to test for cannabinoid potency. And that's pretty much all. You have to have your cannabinoid potency listed on it. If it's hemp, it has to be below a certain point of THC. And if it's cannabis, there's not really any limit to how much it can be. In certain aspects, Michigan sets a height on how much THC you can have in certain edible packages. But other than that, there's really no mark to how high it can go. But pesticides, mycotoxins, microbial activity, all those absolutely have to be tested in order to pesticides to make sure that the cannabis is safe for the consumer. And if it's extract, so if it's cannabis extract, so where they actually extract cannabinoids and terpenes and stuff from the plant itself, that has to be tested for residual solvents because those solvents are being used to extract those compounds. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Well, one more. So it seems, I know you stated that you want to be affordable, but it also seems like what your aim is to bring a really high quality test back to both the consumer and the vendors. So, so why not go for a premium on your services and use CanOptic Labs as a recognizable brand that if CanOptic Labs has reviewed and tested, that stands for a lot in the industry.
Yeah, we hope to eventually build a brand so we can charge a higher price. But the way that our pricing is set up is there's uh different different tests that you can get done. So if you are not doing regulatory testing, our regulatory test is $355. That if you are putting your cannabis onto market, that is what you are going to have to pay no matter what. Now you can build on that in order to get our cannabis or our cannabis profiling, that terpene profiling as well, and further in-depth testing. You can add that onto your regulatory testing. You could always add on tests that actually up the amount of data that you're going to receive back, but it also ups our price and ups our profit margin as well. So depending on who actually wants the testing done, they can have a very, very affordable price, or they can go for premium with our brand.
Michael, Justin here. What is the odds that, is there any chance that you wouldn't get approval for the Michigan cannabis testing license?
Yes, that was, I believe that was number 1 on slide 3. That is getting those licenses. That's actually with the MRA. So the Marijuana Regulatory Agencies is who you have to put your application in first. That's for your Michigan license. And then you have to get a municipality license. So whether I'm going to be in Negaunee, Marquette, I would have to contact the local municipality and see what exact forms they want filled out and how much they want to operate inside of their municipality.
Do you know if it's
But yes, that is absolutely something.
You know, if you meet, say you meet 100% of the criteria as you understand it, are you very confident that you would get the license?
From what I've seen, the business plan that I have put together, I actually sent you guys my smaller business plan. I have a 67-page business plan as well put together. That's what they want. They want everything in there. Hopefully putting in my business plan and all of my funding and stuff, the first time they'll give me my license. If not, they give you back a piece of paper stating what you need to add or subtract from your application in order for it to pass. They give you 90 days to fix that in order to put in your application again. So I don't see myself having to put in a second application fee. Once I put in my application, and if it's not up to their spec, whatever they send back will be fixed within a week and sent back to them.
Michael,
Yes.
you in your introduction, you mentioned that you would be the only cannabis tester in the Upper Peninsula. That really
Yes.
doesn't surprise me too much. But I'm just wondering, are there other ones in the state of Michigan? Are there other ones in the Midwest? How many cannabis testers are there that you'll be competing against?
There are some downstate. There are 3 cannabis testing facilities downstate. Another thing with me too is I will be local to the Upper Peninsula. So anyone that has to get their cannabis tested downstate, they have to securely transport it as well. So they're paying those fees to send it those few hundred miles downstate as well to get tested. So that's another fee that you have to take into consideration, that these processors and growers in the Upper Peninsula are taking into consideration as well. So that would also make my business a little bit more affordable to them being local, so they don't have to send it downstate as well. But even in the Midwest and stuff, cannabis can't be sent across state lines. So even if they were right on the other side border of Wisconsin, they can't test anything from Michigan, anything from the Upper Peninsula. It would have to go all the way around the top part of the lake down to the downstate, because it can't go through Wisconsin.
So by the same token, you'd be competing with the labs that are downstate, and for the growers downstate, it would be a lot more advantageous for them to have their stuff tested downstate too, wouldn't it? Rather than having it shipped up here to the UP. So does that limit your market area?
It does, but we as the way that we are laying out our testing and presenting it, I wanted to say, the way that we are presenting our results is different from any other lab. I don't know if you can see this slide or not. The way that other testing labs present their material, it just looks as a list. And this list is very hard for normal people to interpret. So whenever they go and scan this QR code on their label, or the bud tender shows them this piece of paper, no one knows really how to interpret it. Yes, there's levels of these different cannabinoids, which are just letters and all of these long terpene names, but we don't know how to interpret it. CanOptic actually interprets it for you. So no other lab does that. So what that does is it will boost sales, draw people into your dispensary, or even attract them to your product because they know how it's going to make them feel. They know how to interpret it. It's not just a list of numbers and letters.
Good, thank you.
Michael, do you know how you're going to raise your 1.2 million?
I'm hoping with angel investors. I know that there's a few companies out west that are starting to do cannabis investments. They have a little bit higher of a interest rate, but I'm looking at some angel investors. I have a few interested already that I had some meetings with. I don't have the $1.2 million currently raised, but I'm working on it. Unfortunately, I can't go to the bank and get a small business loan for a cannabis business, unfortunately. So the only way to really do it is to get angel investors or private investors, private backers to fund you.
Have you had a conversation? I know you can't use federally supported institutions to support cannabis businesses, but you're a testing business. So you just might run it by a banker just to confirm that that avenue isn't there for you.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Thank you very much.
Follow up to Dennis's question, Michael. Are there, I'm assuming there are current restrictions, maybe there isn't, but current restrictions on your profits and how you can repurpose those profits outside of your investments? Is that a concern even for a temporary period of time with the restrictions on housing profits in a federally insured institution or any of those items? Like, would that become a potential risk or a severe threat to ongoing business operations, be it purchasing new supplies, purchasing facilities, purchasing professional services? Any risks there?
Your mic went off.
I'll repeat. Any potential risks to when it comes to repurposing your profits, similarly compounding onto Dennis's question and statement about the federally backed financial institutions, would you see any threats or risks in not being able to repurpose your profits to run the operation?
No. There has not been any issues with any other testing labs throughout the United States, so I don't see why there would be any issues with mine.
Thank you.
I think that limits. I think we're at 15 minutes for the questions. So thank you very much, Mike, and thank you to the judges. And we'll give the judges a minute or two to do some scoring since they have the score sheets, and give a little time for Max and Jonathan to get set up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the key thing is to stop sharing your screen whenever you get there. You go.
Okay. Just a little commercial that we are very pleased that this new business venture competition was actually the result of a gift of a very generous alum, a 1972 alum, actually, Irv Cranberg. And so he made this very generous gift so that we can have this competition. And I didn't mention that initially. And so during the commercial here, I thought I would do that so that the students have an idea of the fact that we're very fortunate in the College of Business in Northern Michigan University that we have alums that pay it forward and help us help you with your dream and funding the prizes that go with this competition. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. So thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Carol. That's a very good point because the funding for this does come from that source, and it's really important to acknowledge the importance of that. So are the judges still tabulating? Give you guys about another minute. Will that? Okay. All right, the judge is ready for the next presentation. All right. All right, well, thank you, Mike. And our next presenters, Max and Jonathan, I'll let you guys get set up and I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Start out by sharing my screen.
I see it.
Perfect. Everyone can see that fine still?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
My name is Max Steele, and this is Jonathan Damon.
Yep, and our business is OccuDeck. We plan on providing smart parking solutions. Before we really get into it, I'd like to share with you a quick video that we put together. So I'll start that. Please let me know if there are any issues. This should be fine though. How do you feel about parking on Northern Michigan University's campus?
It's awful.
Depending on the time, it's a struggle.
I feel like there's always never enough parking, and I feel like the good spots are always taken.
I think it's unreasonable.
I guess sometimes it definitely really sucks.
I don't really like it.
Normally the lots are pretty filled.
It's difficult, especially for those that have to go to class and they might be late to class because they can't find a parking spot.
It's one of the worst things to deal with at Northern Michigan University.
What's your biggest issue with the parking?
Just availability, really.
Probably just having to park far away.
Probably like not finding a place to park.
Basically just having to park far. Like I know that's an issue that everyone goes through, but we do live on a college campus, so I feel like that's not something people should be worried about.
There's not enough parking spots, and you never know like where the spots are at.
What would you do if I told you there was an app that could allow you to find all available parking spaces on campus?
I would use it every single time I get in my car.
That would be really nice.
I would like that because that kind of gives us an idea, so we're not taking that extra like 30 minutes driving around each parking lot trying to find a parking spot when we know that there's probably not going to be any.
I think that'd be super cool. I definitely think that would help everyone out, and I think that could be beneficial to the school and the students alike.
That'd be pretty awesome because I feel like I drive around for like 25 minutes before I find a spot.
That would be nice. That would be awesome. I would definitely download it.
It'd be really nice because then I wouldn't drive through all the lots looking for a spot.
I would definitely download it right away. Like definitely.
Perfect, thank you. That is all. All right, and I know that video was very focused on Northern Michigan University itself, but I'd like to take this time to kind of explain that the extent of this problem goes well, and it's nationwide. And campuses across the country experience these problems with commuter lots, residence lots, and even faculty lots. When we were talking with public safety here at NMU, it was brought to our attention that the commuter lots experience such a heavy rotation that this is parking is a big issue for the commuter lots. They can experience a full rotation of vehicles 4 times a day. Our solution would be a parking app that would allow all users to find available parking spaces. To accomplish this, we would use an occupancy detection API that would connect to the app and the cameras so that these could communicate over the internet. And we would also provide personalized hardware. And you can see here that we actually have a prototype. The solution for each customer would vary on that particular customer. So now I will get into the software a little bit more. We have a very unique idea using deep learning with neural networks for occupancy detection. Deep learning, you might have heard of machine learning, is a process of having a computer learn things without defining a strict set of rules. And it accomplished this using a neural network, which is basically you provide an input and then it goes through multiple layers and then it produces an output, which for us would be either an occupied spot or a vacant spot. For the car detection, which is actually how we determine where the spots are at, we use a mask RCNN, which is a regional convolutional neural network, which is basically just for object detection. To classify between the two states of either vacant or occupied, we would just use binary classification, which is very simple. It's just one or the other. All of deep learning is very cutting edge. Within the past decade, this has been starting to come up into fruition and really making advances. And even mask RCNNs are just within the past couple of years. It's very new, right on the forefront of technology. This is an image taken in the very beginning of our software development. And we have made some advances since this point. However, this illustrates the occupied spots, which are shown by red boxes around the vehicles, and the vacant spots, which are the green boxes. And you can see that in the top left and even in the bottom right down here. There are some issues with this. As you can see, some of the vehicles in the back are obscured by trees. So this kind of blocks, but this is a problem that would be solved by multiple camera angles. So we'll get into that a little bit and explain the hardware. As I previously mentioned, there would be personalized solutions for each customer. And some customers would not need any hardware because their cameras would work. They would have a good view of the parking lot and all the vehicles would be visible. However, in situations where that is not possible, we would hook up our own cameras, which would be something like this, with just a very small camera, but this is a very high quality camera. And this would connect to a lamppost. And housed in this is a battery, which would be charged while the lamppost is powered, or even possibly through solar power. You can see a connector here. And then the actual computation is done on a Raspberry Pi, which is also housed within this unit. And the Raspberry Pi would have an LTE-M chip for Internet of Things devices, which would allow communication with our API and the greater internet. And then it would also, we could also allow for a Wi-Fi chip. So again, this is very depending on the customer and the price would range based on the customer. So now I will let Max take it away with more of the business side of things.
So up here, we have our timeline, and it says we started in 2020, but this idea really came to fruition last year. We were sitting in our dorm, and we were just kind of talking about the parking, and we came up with the idea or the thought that it might be better if we could have an app to determine where each spot is. As you see, in 2020, our goals are just research and development and refining solutions, such as this hardware here. We think that that's going to be very important to the future. As we were sitting at the beginning of 2020, we are actually further along than we anticipated. We spent hundreds of hours so far this year just working and planning, just going through every possible solution. Into 2021, we plan to continue refining our solutions, such as our code. 2021 is also the year we plan to have a full working model of the code that is presentable to investors along with our app. We will be talking to investors throughout 2021 because investors are going to be a big part of this, capital investors specifically. In 2022, we plan to launch. Since we're in our sophomore year, we'll be graduating in May of 2022 because we're both on track to graduate in 4 years, and we plan to launch soon after that. The beginning of 2022 will be all about preparing to launch and still refining our solutions once we launch, because I'm confident that we will always be working for a better solution. The most important aspect of a company is how we will be faring with our expenses and our revenue. With our hardware, which is this specific unit, costs us about $100 to produce. This cost will go down over time if we can order in bulk. The colleges, we would charge $150 each for, again, that specific unit of hardware, but some colleges may not need any hardware. With the software, we'll be charging $10,000 per year per university, and we anticipate 35 customers in the first 2 years. This will put us at about $350,000 of revenue in the first 2 years, and that is a recurring payment every year. This would be a yearly subscription to our software, and we are expecting a 85 to 90% profit margin on this revenue of the software. Travel is roughly $10,000 per 50 visits. We have it calculated that there are over 250 colleges within 200 miles of the Metro Detroit area, which is where we plan to be based, that have over 2,000 students. 2,000 students is about the minimum threshold of a university, because anything under that, their parking tends to be a little bit easier to manage. When we're talking about employees, we anticipate that we will be spending, with benefits and salary, $100,000 per employee, 25% of which will be salaries and 75% will be employee. Our legal costs are about $8,000, which is negligible in the grand scheme of things, and this is just a rough estimate that we've determined from talking to others in similar industries. And office and utilities may seem low, but we are not anticipating a physical office until the third quarter of year 2. The majority of our marketing is face-to-face. There's not really an easy way to target deans and higher ups in the university without directly going on campus to them. So our marketing budget ties hand in hand to travel. Also, we anticipate having extra profits or extra money in our marketing account that we will use as a social media guerrilla marketing campaign. The abstract for which is in our appendix of our plan. So OccuDeck is just a very promising startup. We've hit 99.6% accuracy in our test data, and my colleague John here is going to explain that a little bit better.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of explain what this meant. So when we create our model with the deep learning, we train it using our training data, and then we fine tune it using validation data. And then we test our model using test data, which the model has never seen before. And being able to use that test data, we were able to get a 99.6% accuracy given the conditions for all the test data that we have. And we actually anticipate that this accuracy level will increase as our model improves, as we gather more data. And then to get back, I'll let Max take over for the rest of this.
So we have very high profit margins in our hardware and our software, and this is very important when we talk about scalability. We plan on being easily scalable at any level, and I'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. So about the future, with our scalability, we have national level and a global level. Nationally, there's over 2,000 colleges that have over 2,000 students. And depending on the investment level, it will determine how quickly and we can scale nationally and hopefully globally. Because across the globe, Morris colleges tend to be commuter-based, which gives a greater need for our product. We also are confident in our horizontal growth into the future with historically bad industries that have historic parking problems, such as our malls, hospitals, and airports. These are industries that rely on parking sensors and other things when our product and our hardware is cheaper and more readily available. We just wanted to thank you for this. We appreciate your time, and with all this confusion, we're glad that the competition has stayed how it is, and we're just very thankful that you guys are here.
Yeah, thank you very much. And at this time, we will be answering any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Judges, the floor is open for questions.
I have a question for, well, either one of you could take care of this. In your video at the beginning, a lot of people were complaining about parking. And I imagine this is something that probably happens every day at a campus like Northern. When people call to complain or send in a message or something to complain, who's the person who handles all those complaints? Is there somebody at Northern who's in charge of parking?
I'll take this question. Actually, there used to be a person until she recently retired. Northern Michigan had a dedicated parking coordinator that was part of their public safety department. It was an expensive position, and this is one of the reasons that we assume that many colleges will be willing to take on this amount of money for parking solutions, because they already are. And it would just allow a better solution at a cheaper cost.
Well, the complaints, I'm sure, haven't stopped just because they got rid of that person. So somebody is dealing with that. If you can figure out who that person is, and I'm sure every campus has a person like that, that would be your primary point of contact. And if you can convince them that you're going to solve all their problems, you've got a slam dunk.
We're in talks with the chief of police at Northern, who is currently running their parking. And he is the person, he said that if we were to develop a solution, that they would be very willing to take it.
I believe it, yeah. Thank you.
You guys plan to handle the promotion of the app to students and users for the universities, or are you leaving that to the universities to promote usability or users of the app? And if that's the case, do you plan to provide resources to the universities to better promote the app?
Yes, absolutely. If you look in our appendix, it kind of gives an outline of what the app would look like. And one of the pages would allow for a QR code scanning. So you could put up flyers and say, scan this QR code to save this parking lot in your app. And then you would be able to have quick access to the app to see how many spots are available currently. And we would encourage universities to do that.
So just to be clear, the university is your customer, and then it's the university's responsibility to distribute the app to students and faculty? Is that how it would work?
Well, the app will be a free app that can be downloaded to any cell phone, Android or iOS. And then we would have to put up flyers or something that would encourage the users to download the app. And ideally, we would think that the universities would advertise this, saying we have a smart parking solution at our campus, which would help attract customers or students rather. And this would kind of encourage the use of the app.
Yeah, we believe that this app is going to speak for itself, and it's going to be something that's easily downloadable. It won't really be a struggle for students to scan a QR code, especially with something that'll help them out as much as it will.
And can you say a few words about what are you going to do to create barriers of entry for someone else to get to U of M or to Wayne State before you get a chance to get there? So So what's going to be proprietary about what you do that makes it so that someone else can't just knock the same thing off and do what you're doing and go to other campuses?
Well, there are two parts to this. One is that by the time we launch and by the time this is really made public, we will have almost 2.5 years. We'll be about 2.5 years ahead of someone. And sure, they might be able to put some code together, but a lot of this is training data images, which does take time. I think John has a little bit more on that.
Yeah, there are a lot of images that you would have to do, and we would obviously have a head start on that. And it's not a simple process just to throw this code together. So it is rather complex, especially considering how new a lot of these ideas are. So we like to think that we are kind of ahead of the curve on this.
Two questions. Question one, this doesn't seem very lucrative to universities. So universities are public institutions, but they're not interested in breaking even. We know that. A positive profit margin of $5,000 on an incredible investment seems like a stretch for many universities that may not be as sympathetic to the problem, because are people, is parking a recruitment issue for the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, Notre Dame? Like, where's the value add in this for the university outside of it's something just a little bit different? Big question there for me.
I would say that the universities could advertise this as a smart parking solution. And this could attract a lot of students. Also, if you, in our business proposal, we talked about CO2 emissions and how this could reduce CO2 emissions. We didn't really talk about that in our presentation because it's kind of a secondary point, but this is also something that universities could advertise. And then also, if the universities were to raise the price of parking passes to just by an extra couple dollars, I mean, that would pay for the convenience.
And convenience is a factor that universities really look for. And in fact, one of the things Northern Michigan advertised when I took my first campus visit was that they had an app that could tell you when the laundry machines were done. So if they're willing to talk about that and make a deal about that, I think they'd be more than willing to advertise this that has been an issue on almost every college campus that I've seen.
Follow-up question more from a technical standpoint. The incredible shrinking parking lots that happen in cold weather climates, how will the data versioning, how will the visual recognition of vehicles, how will that be adjusted real time when parking lots could change within hours of their capacity?
Yeah, that is a very good point. And this is something that we have been thinking about. The first step in this process would be to gather training data for cold weather climates with snow. And then being able to recognize cars in the snow would, I mean, there would be some amount of error, but if a human can recognize a car in a parking lot in the snow, we believe that a deep learning program should be able to pick up on that as well. And obviously the spots will change, but the way we determine where the spots are is based on where the cars are located. So we would use some just manipulation of, okay, if this car has moved to this spot, then we know that some of the spots are not going to be available. And so this will be constantly being changed.
Will you be cross-referencing the amount of vehicles in a particular parking lot with its finite square footage?
My plan now is to develop some sort of mask around the image saying parking cannot be in this area. So it wouldn't be like you're inputting how many square feet it is in the parking lot, but it would know the boundaries of the parking lot and it would be able to determine where the spots are within that.
Awesome. Thank you.
When you showed us what the camera looked like. Can you hold it up again with a bigger screen so we can see what it looks like?
Sorry.
Okay. So, and I'm assuming from the pictures that you showed us, you already had that installed someplace?
Those images were not from our prototype.
Okay.
So this prototype is relatively new. It's kind of just a proof of concept. Obviously, the camera itself was, the housing unit for the camera itself was 3D printed, and there's no sort of weatherproofing on this. It's just a proof of concept.
Okay. The two questions I had is how durable is that going to be, like through the winter? How many years is it going to last? And who installs those? Would that be your job or the university's job?
That kind of, it depends. I mean, we can hire out somebody to do it, and it can be a pass-through expense, if that, just whatever works. However, there is, I mean, obviously this is a battery, so it won't last forever, but it should last similar to how a car battery lasts, especially considering that the draw will be so low from the battery and there will be trickle charging. So that will also increase the life of the battery.
Okay.
And we intend to make these units as weatherproof as possible. The cameras in these battery units are going to be something that we intend to last as long as a light bulb inside the parking lights, inside the lamp lights. So when people go up to change those in the bucket lists that most universities have, they will be able to change these if needed around the same time.
Okay, thanks.
Can your software solution harness the power of existing cameras already placed in specific locations?
Yes, that would be the main goal. However, like particularly at Northern, their cameras just don't work. The police chief brought us in and kind of showed us the angles are kind of too far away. You can't get a good view. So at Northern specifically, we would have to put up our own cameras. But ideally, we would not be charging universities anything, and we would use the cameras that are already in place.
And if I might add, we were talking and we found that when new construction is being done on campus, if they figure where they want the cameras and we tell them where the cameras need to go, that they can add the cameras to the construction of the building in the right angles for a relatively low cost. It's more about angles and how high they are on the buildings other than anything else, really. And at other universities where it's cheaper to build up than outwards, like it is in Marquette, that would also give us better angles to the parking lots because of the heights of the buildings.
And if your parking lots, if a university's parking lots need to be retrofitted with additional posts, that you said is a pass-through cost to the university?
We are not anticipating having to put up any additional posts. We would just use the existing lamp posts that are available currently.
So the angle problem is more about how the initial cameras would potentially be installed, or how they're positioned, or how they're actually created, like the perspective that the lens itself is giving?
Yeah, and the cameras that we would put up specifically to have the correct angles, and they would be used specifically for our software.
Thank you.
I would think that it would be a really good idea to both have a charge for the university, but then also have the universities do a pass-through on an upcharge for the parking passes that they issue. So, you know, as long as this works, then I think you're underselling the value of it. You know, rather than try to get 35 customers, if you could focus on 10, but charge them a higher price because what you're doing is bringing them value. You know, I have a parking pass at the university, and I use it. So, and you know, the university charges us for parking passes, and to have a chance to, you know, pay pay $5 more a month, but for the convenience of our employees, it makes sense. So I'd really look back at what your pricing looks like. And if you believe that the value's there, or you can prototype it with the university wants to demonstrate the value, then don't be afraid to charge a higher price.
We absolutely have no problem charging more, I assure you.
Yeah, we are unsure what it would look like at a real university to really put all these solutions in. So our pricing is very variable. And we believe that these diffuse costs over university students will make this lucrative to us and the universities.
Just, the point in business is it's much easier to come down in price and give discounts than to go up. So once you're out there with a price, it is hard to go up and convince people that it's worth more. So aim high, make sure the value's there, the quality's there. And if you want to give somebody a discount, then give them a discount.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
All righty, I think our 15 minutes of questions are up, but thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And so I guess what's going to happen next is the judges, of course. I think Carol might want to make a few words after I do. So if you want to, Carol, jump in when I'm finished. But I just want to say thank you to the judges and to our contestants as well. It's been really interesting watching this. Two really innovative ideas. And as a spectator, more or less, I've really appreciated. So for what that's worth, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work. It's going to take some time to tabulate the results. I know we're going to have the crowd favorite, and I think we'll be announcing the prizes, not today, obviously, but later. But we'll be working on that. Do you have any things you want to say, Carol?
I would. Again, thank you to everybody. I think one of the things that we should be really proud of in this very difficult time for everybody is everyone's willingness to try something new and to take the technology that we have available to us and use it to move this competition forward, and to be able to actually invite somebody to something and have them be able to attend. And so I'm really pleased that we were able to offer this to our classes, and I hope we have a good audience there. We also have our faculty, and we've shared the link with some interested external constituents. And once this competition is complete, we will also put it out on our website so that people can click on that link and watch the entire competition. I think that the gentleman, if I was able to do a clap, I would do so to the contestants, because I think they did a great job. Very innovative companies, very innovative ideas, very thorough business plans. Everyone did a wonderful job. And of course, the judges for your willingness to share your specific expertise with them is very interesting. So thank you all. And I would say good night, and stay safe and stay healthy. And we look forward to hopefully being able to do this next year in person. So thanks again, everybody. Take care and good night.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Carol, and thank you again to everyone.
So are we done here?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm muted. I did it again. Yeah, we are finished. Again, I'm gonna be tabulating the scores. If the judges will send me the score sheets for the presentations. And again, we'll be making announcements about the winners. I know it'll be the day or be Monday, but we have the crowd favorite to figure out, as well as the two prizes, which are judge based. So, but yes, relax, enjoy the rest of your evening. Not that you can do much because we're on lockdown, but enjoy it as much as.
Yeah, gentlemen, both awesome ideas. Great
Yeah.
starts. Like both sides, there's a lot of complexity here, but a lot of opportunity that you're putting together. And it's just really interesting to see how technology, how marketing, how business management, how organizational structure, all those pieces are coming together in these plans and viable business opportunities. So thanks for putting your effort and energy and sweat and tears in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think they're all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Good job and a lot of hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would say these are among the best plans that I've seen in the years I've judged. So congratulations.
That's good to hear.
guys.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I got a whole team that want to ask you guys about those Lambda functions you're thinking about using.
I'd be interested to talk if you wanted to.
Might have to make that happen.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All righty. Well, good evening, everyone, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, everyone.
All
Thank
right.
you
Thank
so
you.
much.